Show with Irish Show with Irish Show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison! I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship! That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing! Doing a damn thing! The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Irish! Yeah, that's right. Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Oh, Irish! Irish! Yeah, that's right. It's finally here, folks. Welcome in. I couldn't be happier to make this announcement. Welcome into a Camp Confidential. Camp Week is here, everybody, and a big, rare recruiting win for Notre Dame. Welcome into the Always Irish Morning Show. Oh, man, I'm just so glad Camp's here. I'm so glad Camp's here. I'm sure you guys are feeling that too. We were starting to spin ourselves into circles, talking about all the big picture stuff and existential this and that and all the stuff that I talk about in the summer. I'm glad to have Camp here. And I want to know, I'm just putting this out there. What do you want early camp reports to be like? That's going to be a big question I want to know this week. What do you want to hear early? I want to know what will give you encouragement? What will make you feel more nervous? What do you want to hear? I believe, Andrew, the first day is Wednesday. Pretty sure it's going to be Wednesday. I'm gonna be over there Wednesday. I'll try a Rudy and just kind of walk in, and when they're like, dude, you're a nobody, I'll be like, what are you talking about? Coach Parsegian told me I could come in here. I might try that Wednesday. I'll just walk right in and say, what are you talking about? The coach said I could come in. Oh, man. And so that's a couple things that I have on the top of my mind. And we're going to talk about Kingston, too. I think there's some interesting dynamics there and a couple interesting things he said that I gotta there's one part of this that's funny to me as a Notre Dame fan, and I don't know how it's gonna go over, but I'm gonna bring it up. So thanks everybody for being here. Call in line 312-900-8815. YouTube, obviously, you know where to find me. Do it, subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps me as well. Notifications on that way you alerted every time a new episode drops. I know you don't want to miss it. Twitter, search bar Always Irish Rat. Ooh, that was juicy. Always Irish Jake. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You can locate me. The call-in lines. We already went over at 312-900-8815. Tell me all you've heard and seen if you're spying on Camp. Fighting Irish Wire. Check it out, folks. Every day we have Notre Dame information. I put an article up last night breaking down 3 specific reasons that landing Kingston was a big deal. Uniquely, not just generally speaking, but this specific player. And I broke down a few different ways that I see that that's critically important for Notre Dame. Okay, here's one thing I want to ask. And then I'll do some chats. We'll get to the calls. I'll go over a couple of my notes. I don't have a ton today. Here's one thing is I'm going to be at Notre Dame Wednesday. I'm thinking of going live tomorrow morning as well so that I could get, not lose that show Wednesday, but it'll be Tuesday. If you guys want that, we could do it. If you want me to just post a regular video in its place Wednesday, we could do that too. But I want to be available for you guys. I didn't know whether if camp starting, there would be more juice, more people piling in here that are waking up out of football hibernation that want to talk Notre Dame, and I want to be available to you. But I also want to know, Even if I'm not available to you, it's because I'm doing always Irish business, damn it. I want you guys to know I'm not sitting around a pool. I'm going to Notre Dame. I got people to meet and people to see. So trying to make some moves over there on campus, all right? Getting the right circles and some good graces. One step at a time. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so here's the first thing is let's do a couple chats. Let's see where the people are at. Then we'll get into some Kingston stuff and go from there. Yeah, Mark with glasses. It's just nice to win one. Kevin from the office. And it's funny you say that, Mark. When I said that in my little short I put out last night after the commitment, that was in my mind of Kevin sitting there. And it's like, it's just nice to win one. And it's one we needed for a bunch of reasons too. And I'll go over those. Jay Lehman, good to see you. Nicest guy on Twitter. No injuries in camp. I repeat, no injuries. Yeah. Here's the other thing. Knock on wood. I believe Notre Dame's entering camp this week in really good a health position, more than they are a bunch of years of recent vintage. Like guys that needed work done, did it right after the season. Their rehab back up to go. Price should be 100%. That's one thing I'm very excited to see and hear the early reports on him. I want to know about that burst. Like he could be healthy again structurally, but if he don't have that boost I saw in the blue and gold game as freshman, that's an issue. I want to know that boost level. All right. So, but I think Notre Dame's starting out in a better out spot than we usually do going into camp. And obviously we need that to continue. That goes without saying. Mikey Poles, my show security guard. Good morning, John. Great show Saturday night. Really wanted to get on the line and argue with Pat on the monumental importance of the OSU game. It has ripple effects in recruiting in the national picture. Again, that's the tough part with it. I believe USC may be the better team entering this year, but Ohio State has the bigger recent elite history level. Okay, they do, even though I think Ohio State might be better overall this year. Ohio State's more proven. I mean, look at the quarterback position, for example. Nobody can convince me Ohio State's situation is going to be better than USC's this year. But we got into this Saturday night, this big debate, like what's a bigger deal, Ohio State, USC? Pat's all USC, and I value the USC game more as well overall as a Notre Dame guy. But I cannot poo-poo any Notre Dame fan that's looking at Ohio State, seeing that we haven't beat them since the 30s, seeing their elite recruiting, seeing how good they've been overall lately, seeing that they're the first of the big three on our schedule, and looking at, you got to get that one to set this tone right for the year. And I believe Pat was pushing back on me on this. I believe this. Let me know if you do too. I think it's in Notre Dame fans' minds, the idea that Pat always says you could lose to Ohio State, and if you beat USC at Clemson, you're still in playoff position as long as you don't marshal yourself or do anything else dumb. I think where Notre Dame fans are getting hung up on this is they're thinking, if Notre Dame can't beat Ohio State at home and we have a 6-year quarterback and they have a first-year quarterback, what are the odds you're going to beat USC then? I believe that is the undertone of this argument, but it's not being said. I think deep inside, that's what Notre Dame people think. If you're not able to take care of Ohio State at home in that position when you have the quarterback leverage, I'm not feeling good about USC too. So that's why it's putting more pressure to beat Ohio State, to show you can line up with all their talent and whatever else, regardless of their quarterback situation, and beat them. It's a really interesting, tough discussion. Why can't Notre Dame just go ahead and win both? And then we don't have to have this. Oh man, this discussion every damn day. Look at what we have here. Man, I appreciate this. Eric with $100 holler. Eric, I got to ask, We were wondering where you were at. You were there in the middle of the summer, and then you were out for a while, and I haven't seen you. Welcome back, man. It's glad to have you back. Maybe you took a nice, well-earned month-long vacation or something. Eric says, I'll be back game week, baby. Lansing, Michigan. Pat, this year it's OSU, not USC. This is your last chance in the foreseeable future to beat a perennial top 3 program. USC's not top 3 and has not been forever. Man, I'm telling you, Eric, it's just a hot debate. It's just a hot debate, but I really appreciate the $100 holler. That loads up our phone lines for a lot of what I want to do near picture here when we get into camp. But I really appreciate the donation and can't wait for you to be back for game week. Let's go, baby. All right. What else do we have in the chats? I really appreciate that. That's very generous, my friend. Really do. Andrew says, why does everybody think USC is an elite? In year 1 under Riley, they nearly made the CFP. Both games are huge. I would argue that beating Ohio State might mean more this year, but USC is a big problem. Yeah. The other thing is, it's just the idea that Notre Dame has a new coach that most people were behind, wanted to encourage, wanted to get the job and all that. The idea that he may start out 0-2 against USC. That is, I don't care how much I love your personality. I don't care if you're a snazzy dresser. I don't care about any of that. A new Notre Dame coach starting out 0-2 against USC is just red flag central. And you could argue it's more about what USC's doing and not as much about what Notre Dame's not doing. Like, you could argue that. But this is the history of USC. They go into these time periods where there's just nothing happening and they're down and out, and then you can run them over. But when they rise, they rise fast and hard with a lot of money behind them and flash and bring back the whole Hollywood thing. And I've seen other people mention, Riley's not going to be there long. He's going to go to the NFL, whatever. I don't know what he's going to do, but I can't have my guys starting out 0-2 against our biggest rival, getting clowned and punked up and down the field the way we were last year. I'm just not okay with it. You can't have it. Can't have it. Andrew, landing KVA was huge. Great job by Washington, Golden, and Freeman. But I get the impression that his spirituality played a big role in his decision. This does feel like a unique circumstance, but still big. All right. Remember a few minutes ago, Andrew, you're good. You're good. Remember a few minutes ago when I said, I have something to bring up about this commitment that I don't know how it's going to come off? Andrew nailed it. Did you read that quote where the guy literally said, I really couldn't see myself going to Notre Dame at all. And I could definitely see myself going to Ohio State or USC. But then God jumped in and told me I had to have faith to go to Notre Dame. I'm paraphrasing, but that's something that this guy said is like, I couldn't see myself at Notre Dame, but I could the other 2 places. And then God told me to have faith and go to Notre Dame. Listen, man, I love this commitment. I love that there's still guys in this age range that value faith. I feel like overall religiosity is something that's going down in the country, not up in terms of numbers and the amount of people that value that spirituality and religion guiding the way they live their life and interact. If Notre Dame could get all those guys, that's great. I just thought it was funny. Even when we land this guy, he's not like, I love Notre Dame. I'm all Notre Dame. He started out by saying, I couldn't see myself there, but God told me to go here. Whatever, man. I'll take it. But that struck me as being funny. And it's like all the times you hear about religion being negatively recruited against Notre Dame, other coaches will be like, they're going to try and turn you into a priest and you got to go to church 4 times a day and all this stuff. I guess it's really, really good to see the faith angle land us a guy instead of being used as a negative. And so it really does make sense, though. A lot of these families with the background that this kid has, a very close-knit family is something that they value. And religion tends to be a big deal and something they value as well. So really great to have us pick up a win on that front. But I did think it was funny when he was saying that stuff. We got a couple phone calls. I'll get right to you. Garen, good to see you. Domer guy, really good to see you. Andrew, what has SC done to prove they're elite? Well, number one is take the whole team out of it. Just look at the quarterback. He won the Heisman, and he was on the verge of winning the Heisman. And then Notre Dame went to LA and handed it to him on a silver platter. Sure, the referees didn't help Notre Dame at all. They weren't getting calls for any holds or anything. But I 100% refuse to make that an excuse for how we defended that team. All right? It was just bad. And so even if you want to say USC isn't quite at fully elite status yet, nobody could argue that quarterback's not. Won the Heisman. And largely, we handed it to him on a silver platter. Let him clown us and run all around and make all the big plays, and we didn't make enough. And I'm still mad about it. I'm still upset about it. And I want revenge when he comes here in October. All right? I'm sorry. I just do. I just do. Domer guy. OSU is the game this year. Oh, like the Ohio State? Yeah, I don't know if you did that on purpose, but I caught it if you did. And the majority of the fan base knows that. And it's because OSU has proven to be elite. Yeah, I mean, you just have two different dichotomies here. Ohio State has the more recent, larger scale body of elite results and recruiting and work. I admit that. But that doesn't mean that the USC stuff isn't still a big deal. Like, both could be true at the same time. I think the biggest argument to value Ohio State is because of where it's at in the schedule. And it's your first big test. And people feel like that is going to show you what's possible against USC and Clemson. And people are going to take that and extrapolate it through the year, good or bad, off that one result of Ohio State. You could say that's not smart or fair to do, but I'm just telling you that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. People are going to take that Ohio State result and then say, based off that, we could beat and should beat USC and Clemson, or nope, not going to happen. We have too many holes. Freeman's not coaching them right, whatever it is. So I don't know. Mark says Ohio State has the third most wins in the last 10 years. USC won 11-3 and got to double-digit wins for the first time in 5 years. But here's the other thing, though. If we want to go off like recent history and compare those, like all that really should matter to Notre Dame people is we lost to USC last year. Like, screw what else happened to them recently and the dumpster they were living in when Brian Kelly was even able to beat them a bunch of times and all that. Now and in the moment, just going back to last year, that punk clowned you in LA. And if you're not going to hit him and put him on his ass and turn him over and lay on him and lay the wood on him, you can't say nothing about the guy if you're not willing to hit him and put him in the dirt. Notre Dame either wasn't willing or couldn't do it last year. It just bugs me, man. Domer guy. But what have they done to be elite? Overall with the team, fine. The quarterback's done plenty to be elite. Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough to have a pretty boy who painted his Holly Weird nails, F Notre Dame, clowning you and you handed him the Heisman? Isn't that enough elite? It is for me. I don't need any more juice. That gives me all the juice I need. And I don't mean juice like OJ juice, but that applies to this discussion too. Oh, man. Jay. I could just picture rational thinking Jay in the corner like, you guys are arguing about Ohio State and USC. Let's not forget about the first four. That's a whole different discussion. That's a whole nightmare. That's a whole something else. I'm not even wanting to have to go down that path. And if we do, I say it every damn week. If we have to go down that path with the loss before Ohio State, everything we're talking about, it's shredded. If we lose a game before Ohio State, the whole dynamic of the whole year and everything changes. The lens and the scope that we are looking at everything, it's totally going to change and be messed up. Said it before and I'll say it again. If you lose a game before Ohio State, it's going to be an absolute worst case scenario nightmare, no matter who it's to. But more importantly is it changes the dynamic of the Ohio State game so much that the feeling is totally different. It is no longer we're undefeated and we'll see what we can do. We're flying high. We have the playoff in our mind. It then becomes a do or die. You are going to have to win that game to stay in the playoff hunt. If you enter it with one loss, you don't have an option. You're going to have to win that game. And if you don't, that means you have 2 losses and we're not even halfway through the year again. And then that's a nightmare. That's how you end up at 8-4 again, like last year. It's unacceptable. There's no doubt about it. You got to be 4-0 or we're going to have major issues. Major issues. Dr. John, good to see you. Thanks for checking in. Pat Cotter would rather beat a 2 or 3 loss USC team than the 85 Bears. I think he would probably admit to that, actually. I think he would admit to it. Domer guy. As of right now, Riley and BK are very similar in terms of how good at coaches they are. You take away Riley's Heisman winners, and what has he really accomplished? You could argue how he acquired those guys that made the Heisman or got the Heisman or whatever, but that's a big difference. One of my biggest knocks on Brian Kelly is the lack of Heisman level quarterbacks either being recruited and or developed once he gets them into Notre Dame. So, I can't really say you take away the Heismans. What has he accomplished? I can't take away the Heismans. That was one of my biggest knocks on Brian Kelly, other than recruiting overall, was the recruiting, retention, and appropriate developmental arc of elite young quarterbacks. We never saw it. And I go over the numbers all the time with you guys. The numbers go down. The longer quarterbacks were at Notre Dame with Brian Kelly, if they started 2 seasons, the second year numbers dipped. There was never an upward stable trajectory. Even Ian Book, all those games he won in his little window there, his passing numbers and all the efficiency and all that stuff went down. Completion percent, it all went down the second year, not up. Now, you could argue that a lot of that has to do with what was around the team. Like maybe we had worse weapons around him the second year than but that's a Brian Kelly problem too. It's not an excuse. That's also your problem to figure out. So I don't know. Look at this crying. Jeezy Pete's. Give me a break on a Monday morning, would you? When we lose to Tennessee State, are we going to blame NIL or the shaky roster? Is the inability to stop the fullback dive BK's fault? Is dropping Waffle for Scott and then whipping the AD's fault too? I hope this is just all an act, or you are a very miserable person. It's just on a Monday morning, we get a big recruit. People are excited. Football's coming back. We have camp starting. And Crying Belly hits all of the most negative stuff you could possibly hit and then nails me too on some of my common themes I talk about here. Welcome to the week, Crying. I hope this is all just an act and that it's a troll act on purpose and you put on the troll cap and feel like you have to do this for entertainment or to balance out the talk or whatever. I hope this isn't really how you are because it's a miserable existence. Oh, man. And then we have one from him that's from Earth. Here you go. Excited to get KVA. That's back-to-back classes with impact linebacker talent. You know what's important now? Making sure those guys are developed properly. Good talent's not enough. Yeah, that's fair. So there you go. You balanced it out. One of the mean ones and then something that's a legitimate, well-thought-out comment. Oh, man. Who else do we got here today? Adam Dowling, it's good to see you. T-Rex, it's good to have a dinosaur in the chat. Couldn't agree more. Ohio State's been the bigger and better program. I mean, yeah, they have been overall recently. And the other thing is, it's like, fine. You could admit Ohio State has the more robust recent elite history and all that stuff and is more proven overall as a program. Fine. You could admit that. That's just a fact, a record of fact, right? But then I would argue, isn't that another you don't want to let USC get to that peak. All right. And so they're clearly on the rise, like all offense. What about the defense? Well, they went out and got a bunch of transfer guys and they're recruiting better on defense. So, like, I know Notre Dame fans like to say that's the angle of beating USC in the short term is they're all offense, no defense. I'm telling you guys, they're working on that defense and they're getting a lot of transfers in there. And it isn't going to be as bad of a defense as we played and weren't able to take full advantage of last year. And so the idea is, if you wanted to argue, Ohio State has the more proven elite history recently, yeah, sure they do. And I'm trying to stop USC from getting to that point of having that history. So knock this guy's head off in South Bend. I don't know. Phil, good to see you, Phil. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's doing well. Steven, it's a good morning to you. Morning, Irish Nation, our fearless leader, John. Big win in recruitment. My spidey sense tells me this kid and his family get it. Faith, family, and football, go Irish. Yeah, it's obvious the way the guy was talking that he's from that family that is like, it's like a funnel family to Notre Dame. The way they value family, close-knit, the religion, the spirituality part guiding the decision, that's fine. Maybe we need to find more players that have that background that are also elite and get them over to Notre Dame then. It's kind of refreshing in a way to hear somebody talk about it that way, a kid that age talk about faith to that level. You don't have that as much anymore. And so it is good to see. And I don't know, it's a big win because you beat out USC and Ohio State for this guy. Think about it. Okay? USC's USC. This guy's a California John Bosco kid. They were throwing stuff at him and wanted to do all they could to keep him from leaving the state. And Notre Dame still won out. And that is a great sign. And then with Ohio State, you think Ohio State people are intolerable, generally speaking. Then they got Scott when we thought we were in it for Scott. Could you imagine if you lost this one too? It's really nice to get a win over those two on the trail, just to let people know Notre Dame's still alive. We're kicking, and we're in the mix. So I don't know. Greg, good to see you, Greg. Really good to see you. Mike, what's up? Finally, some good news for ND. I like seeing John happy. Yeah, doesn't happen often, so hit record when you can. Bradley Ace, this is a big win for ND, but until he's enrolled, I never believe anything. Call me pessimistic. Also, Shamey's about to drop in the rankings. Yeah, that's funny. Now, let me argue this point. He's getting up there saying spirituality and religion is a big part of what guided me to pick Notre Dame. If he backs out of it and ends up at USC or something, what's he going to say? God came back to me and said he messed up the first time, and then he gave me a message not to go to the school that values religion, but to go to Hollywood instead. Like, I get the pessimism because we've been burned so often with guys that verbally commit to us and don't end up here. I totally understand the scope of the skepticism. That's my pushback. If God directed him to Notre Dame, he's going to have to explain how God directed him away. Oh, my God, that's funny. In a sad, weird way. Jared O'Connor, good to see you. Willie, what's going on? Willie's answering one of my questions I asked. Says, I want to hear that we have competent receivers. One of the questions I asked for today was, as camp starts, I believe it's Wednesday, the media doesn't get an hour in there to view practice or whatever. There's those small slivers of time they let the media in, and then they get these little extra tidbits of information. And I asked, what do you want to hear early from camp that's going to make you feel real good? And that was on my list as well. I want to hear, you know what? Sam Hartman's helping these wide receivers come along, and they look like an exciting unit. And there's guys that are athletic, getting good moves right off the line of scrimmage, and they're big and they're fast. They're athletic. Sam's throwing them open. We got a vibe. We got an energy. It's clicking. And this group looks ahead of where we thought they'd be. That's what I want to hear about that group. I want to hear that they look like they're further along than we think they should be. And so that would be awesome. Again, I just scrolled by it. I'm showing that $100 holler, man. That's some big time stuff. That's some big time stuff, and I appreciate it very much. Hit the like button, everybody. I know you're sitting there like, what are you, waking up in the morning on a Monday? Come on, just hit the button with your thumb, move it over. I know you can do it. Anders says Texas A&M could be a top 5 team next season. They are still loaded. I believe that's first game of the year, too. That's going to be an interesting one. Now, I do forget whether that's home or away. But again, no matter what, if that's the first game of the year, Notre Dame's going to be breaking in a new quarterback. Here we go again. Enjoy it this year. You have Sam Hartman that you know he has some experience, because next year it's either going to be younger guys we haven't seen yet or another transfer guy, and that all depends on the level of those guys available and how good they are, whether I'm open to that or prefer a year 2 Minchie off a red shirt, or if Carr comes in big and strong, lean and long, and he can make all the throws, give him a chance. I don't know. We'll see. 33 days can't come fast enough. Are we down to 33 days? Oh, my God. I'm so surprised. Let's go. This is huge. I was so surprised. I thought he was going to the Suckeyes. He didn't seem the type to go back on his word. Those Buckeye fans were confident. I was seeing a boatload of tweets of them leading up to the announcement saying, this guy's all Ohio State. I don't know where they were getting their information, or if one of their beat guys was telling them they were going to land the guy or what. But I just saw a lot of Ohio State people saying this KVA's coming to our place. Didn't happen. I'm glad. Bradley Ace says, I really hope Caleb Williams gets humbled somehow. You know, it's not a mystery to me. There is a way to humble the kid. And it's when he comes to Notre Dame, you put him on his ass every time he drops back to do anything. You hit him under the chin legally, and you put him on his ass. And then when he gets up there and takes a snap again, then somebody else puts him on his ass. There's only one way to humble this guy, and it's to punish him and to beat him. It isn't to talk. It's not anything other than good football. Don't let him run wild on you and find somebody open down the field this year. Hit the guy. Hit him. Blind side, front side, whatever. Pull up the Blind Side movie with Lou Holtz in it. Whatever you want to do, nail the kid. That's how you humble him. You hurt him legally. I'm not asking for a Tanya Harding out here. You legally beat the shit out of the kid. That's how you humble a guy like this. Adam says, SC ran for 200 yards. They dominated our defensive front. They absolutely did. You know when I knew that game was over? When USC started running run plays, right? North, south, up our giggy, and they were getting 6 yards on first down doing it. That's when you know the game was over. Because if you're going to let USC run on you for 5 or 6 yards on first or second down, you have no shot against Williams, because then he can just do whatever he wants. And if it's first down and they run for 6, then he has 2 downs to get 4 yards. That's where he can take some chances, take some shots, get wild with it. And we allowed it. So, I mean, I feel like people would generally think the defensive front last year would be more reliable against the run, against whatever we are going to see this year. And they did a bad job last year. Got clowned. So there's a lot that has to improve. That's for sure. Mark says, when the sales pitch is choose hard and they don't turn and run, you got to love it. But we need a new gimmick if we're promoting how hard shit's going to be for these kids. It's a fair point. I always joke about it. It's like, what do you mean we're not getting a million players? You know, whatever. It's like, well, our message is it's going to be really hard here, really cold weather. You have to take hard classes, and it's not a big party school. And then the other message is, come here, and all you have to worry about is football, girls, and we're going to give you a bunch of money. You could argue, I want these kids to pick Notre Dame, do the right thing, and choose the hard path and all that, and have good families that support that. That's what I want too. I have old school Catholic values, and that's what I want too. You got to be realistic enough to know how these 17-year-olds are these days. It's going to be hard for a lot of them to turn down the easy path of easy money, easy school, fun, party, and football. And to make it's just hard, man. I value it. You value it. Do enough of these kids in the modern era where things seem to come easy? I don't know. ND Norm. I don't have enough room here to list why the OSU game is more important, but the biggie is perception, which has also been reality, is that we're the second tier to Iowa State, must win that game. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. It's a big game for that reason. I can't argue with that. See, I agree with this too, Terrence. I think this year USC is the better team than Ohio State, but that's where we're getting into this debate of Ohio State has the better record overall recently of being elite in recruiting and results, like big picture. If you look at that catalog, USC doesn't, but USC's on the rise, and I don't want him to get there. So, I see that going both ways. Irish IQ, good to see you. Drew Benson, good to see you as well. As a fan base, why can't we just admit that both USC and Ohio State are equally important? Yeah, they're two of the big three, and there are specific reasons each one is a magnifying glass on Notre Dame and a reckoning of where Notre Dame's at. They're big measuring sticks, but in different ways to me. That's how I'm looking at it. Larry, good to see you. Huge win with KVA G Money. Lost to Iowa State last year, too. We certainly did. Brian Farmer, good to see you. What has he got? Playoffs, nothing less this year for ND. Michigan's going to make the playoffs, and they play high school teams. Yeah, they have a clear ramp up because they play high school teams until the second week of November when they have Penn State. They do not play anybody before then. Eric Ward, good to see you. Tim B. Both games matter. Well, I mean, nobody's saying that one matters and one doesn't. It's a matter of which one's more important. OSU's more important for the national narrative and recruiting. USC means more for the history and tradition in our program and fans. Yeah, I mean, the perceptual part of this is such a big damn deal. Just because that's going to be the biggest early game in the year for us, all the eyeballs. You all know that. I mean, it's under the microscope, and Notre Dame needs to show up. Tony, good to see you here. The Irish King. What do we got here? My daughter goes to Oklahoma. She's very involved in all the sports and meeting Caleb Williams on campus. If he was a jerk, very rude people. Oh, man. It's just something about that USC quarterback thing, man. They all seem to have the same vibe. Willie, what's going on? ND9, what's up? Wade, good to see you as well. Ben Emery, what's going on? Not sure why OSU fans would be upset over KVA's decision. They got 4- and 5-star talent all over the place. Surely 1 and 2 guys are allowed to get away from them. ND9, you know what that reminds me of? Callers, I'm going right to you. You know what that reminds me of is Keon Keeley. When we were all talking about what a natural Notre Dame fit that guy was with the grades and a 5-star talent, always a position of need for Notre Dame and all that. And then he rises, he commits to Notre Dame, and then he rises in those rankings, and Georgia starts coming after him. And then Saban starts coming after him. That's what I said when he flipped to Alabama. It's like, buddy, Saban, go get 5 more from anywhere else, 5 stars that want to be on your defensive line. Can we just get one of them? Can we get the one that can read and write and is a good kid, and has the grades? And can we get one of them? No. The answer is no, obviously. Oh, man. How much better would you guys feel about that defensive front if it featured Keon Keeley? Chief, it's good to see you. It's going well. I'm excited to get to Notre Dame soon. That's how it's going. I really am. Really am. All right, let me hit these 2 points, and then we'll go right. I'm going to keep it quick. Then we'll go to the calls. I want to go over 3 reasons that getting KVA is such a big deal for Notre Dame. See if you guys agree or not. Number 1, he is a guy that could be a difference maker early on in his career at Notre Dame. I speak all the time about, ooh, thanks for the $5 holler. I appreciate that. What do we got here? Not so fast, my friend. USC has Caleb Williams, the projected number 1 pick, and SC's a big game in the national picture too. Listen, you guys, they're both huge, but with uniquely different reasons why. Like, that's kind of where I'm at on this. They are both huge, but I could pull unique reasons why I want each of them. They're not the same thing, but they're both huge in their own way and for their own national and local reasons. Back to what I was going to say. Number 1 reason that KVA is such a big deal. A guy that could be a difference maker on the defense early on in his career. I speak all the time about needing Notre Dame to have MVPs, not RKGs. Okay, I'll repeat that. Notre Dame needs more MVPs and less RKGs. They need more players like this, that if they're not cracking the starting lineup by year 2, they are in a rotation. They are disrupting that depth chart. These are guys that get the upperclassmen nervous. They're going to lose their roles. That's how Notre Dame closes the gap, getting more of these guys that could compete early, and then it raises the competition level. It raises the skill level of the guys we actually start and put out on the field. And it breeds depth. It brings competition. Like, Notre Dame needs more guys of this cut and this caliber. Good job by the staff. All right. Number 2, this is a big deal. We already mentioned it. Who we beat out. Beating out USC and Ohio State. We needed a win there perceptually. Been a rough summer as far as the elite gets for Notre Dame. Okay? And it's not lost on me how connected all of this is between us, USC, and Ohio State on the recruiting trail. And we spend every day talking about those games between us all. And then number 3 reason why I think it's important is perceptual momentum. This, it doesn't alleviate everything, but getting KVA helps to start change some of that perception that the recruiting's lagging, and especially on defense, we're falling behind and all that. This is the type of player that helps to balance out that ledger. But I truly think this is such a gifted athlete. He's going to be able to challenge early. It may not even take this guy 2 years. He's that physically gifted. You may not be able to keep him off the field. Notre Dame needs more damn guys like that. Okay? So for those 3 reasons, I think it's huge. We got a couple more super chats. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. The $4.99, the $5 holler, not so fast, my friend. And then what's this one? Mike 3883. Thanks for the $10 holler. No. I don't know what you expect me to do with that, because you're not going to get what you want. I'll say no. That's what I'm going to give you. Thanks for the donation. Thanks for being here. Let's take a phone call. 574, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
What's going on, my friend? It's been a while since we touched base. How are you feeling? Camp starts this week. We got a big recruiting victory. How are you feeling as we ramp up the year?
I'm feeling pretty good so far, although it's obviously kind of scary when you see that game in Ireland. Ireland's only a few weeks away.
Yeah, it's coming up quick, and I need Notre Dame to handle Navy differently this year, and I'm hopeful all these weeks of preparation going into the season should help them in that regard. And so, but whenever you have that travel and maybe as a new coach, there's a lot of moving parts there. That game cannot be overlooked.
Yeah, although I think that travel is going to help the team a bit because, when you're on a 7-hour plane and it's like a cardboard box, you got to talk with somebody when you're on the plane. So, they're going to be going over that scouting report right on that plane.
I'm telling you, they got to come ready, and I want to see them defend that fullback dive and all that a lot better this year. Do you have an opinion on the Ohio State USC situation? Like if you had to win one and lose one, which one would you pick and why? Is Ohio State a bigger deal to you because it's the first big national game everybody's going to watch? Or do you hate USC like all true Notre Dame people, and that's always the one for you? Where do you fall on that?
I would probably say USC just because I hate Caleb Williams. Let's just be honest. I hate Caleb Williams. He's a rich kid. He's got all the NIL money he wants. I mean, he's the reason of the prime example on why are bad reasons why I would play football. Just the money.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. The trend is whenever USC hits an upswing, and they're good again, it's always on the back of players like this with the huge ego, all about them, all the flash. Like, there's just something about USC that they can't be good and just do it humbly. Whenever they're on the rise, it's gaudy and it's in your face and it's all of the stuff we don't live by as Notre Dame people, and it's not how we operate. And I just need us to shut it down. I do. And so, and the other thing I'm going to keep saying is we must be undefeated going into Ohio State. I'm going to say it every day. You can't lose any of those first 4 games in any way, shape, or form. Can't.
No kidding. And you got to play better than them because, these teams, this is their Super Bowl. I mean, imagine you're a 3-star, you barely got into a D1 school, and then you see Notre Dame on your schedule. You're going to be circling that game. You're going to be preparing for that game. So they're going to prepare for their game plan, everything.
Yeah. And, it's a real thing that what you're talking about, a lot of the games we look at as fans on the schedule, and we're like, that doesn't really excite me. It's like, whatever. Those are the teams that are gearing up for the Super Bowl playing Notre Dame. And it's very dangerous when we're all sleepwalking, not taking a team seriously. And on the other side, they're preparing for the Super Bowl. It's the biggest chance these kids will ever get to be on TV and be in the big lights or at Notre Dame or whatever. And it's just, Notre Dame has to be ready. I feel like the fan base took games for granted last year. I felt like we walked through Cal week, Stanford week, Marshall week, and then the team went and did the same thing. We got to get more engaged for every game here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, because all those players are preparing for that game. I mean, it's their biggest game. There are a lot of transfers on that team. This is their big chance against NFL scouts. So this means a lot to them and their family.
Yeah. Can I ask you this? And this is something I've been thinking about all summer. And I don't know any way to measure this or gauge it other than the actual game results. But maybe you have some insight on this. I'm wondering how big of a jump Marcus Freeman could take in terms of being a great coach from year 1 to year 2. How much he learned about maybe where to allocate his time or his attention or to back off here, but press more here. In-game decisions, when to call a timeout, when to go for it on 4th down or punt, when to try and score again real fast versus when to slow it down. How much do you think it's reasonable for us to expect Freeman to look better and more complete as a head coach 1 year to year 2?
I think the biggest jump he's got to make this year is he's just got to spend more time on the players because he's got to control the players. If they're starting to misbehave in the locker room, they're going to start missing their reps. Because if they start getting lazy, they start worrying about their scooter parties, they start doing all this other stuff that's not football related, they're not going to worry about when they play Ohio State. They got to get rid of that culture right away.
Yeah, I don't know. You always hear about the jump teams make from game 1 to game 2 in a year. I want to know how good this coach could be from one year to the next. 818-618. You're the next two coming up. Hang with me. And so I don't know, but this is a big, big year. And then let me ask you this too. I feel like Sam Hartman changes everything. I feel like if this offensive line holds up, Notre Dame fans may see an offense that resembles one that we've been begging for years. One that could pass the ball on you and run the ball on you at will and be able to do both. We need to see that. Do you think you're going to see that? You don't bring a Hartman in here and tell him to just hand the ball off. I think Notre Dame's going to try and open it up, and I'm here for it.
I think so too. They're probably going to try to open it up. There's no reason you bring a long ball thrower, a guy who's projected in the draft, if you're not going to throw the football. They're obviously trying to run a kind of a spread offense kind of thing, like an air raid offense kind of.
Yeah, listen, I never want Notre Dame to give up their DNA of wanting to power run the ball. My point is, don't sacrifice that. Use that. Like, that is your leverage to be able to say, we can run the ball if we want, but if you're going to creep up to the line to stop it, we'll throw it over you and around you. Like, we're not used to a defense having to prepare for everything from a Notre Dame offense. It's been guard the run and then guard the tight end and get off the field. We're going to burn people this year if you do that. This could open up a new world for Notre Dame, having a real big boy offense for once. And if we don't get that, we got big problems somewhere. If you got Hartman in here and this offense doesn't take a big jump, I have real questions about the other position groups, how they're being recruited and developed. That will also probably mean Parker. People aren't happy with what he's dialing up. Like, it has to look way better.
I think I clearly figured out the reason why they're running an air raid offense, and it's because of the weather. Because they play 3 games in September and 2 in October and 1 in November. It's because they don't play as many cold weather games this year as they did in previous years, where they would play 2 games in November. So they can throw the ball more in previous years, when otherwise they would have to worry about the weather forecast every week.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Never stops Ohio State from throwing the ball. That's always my argument when people say, John, it's hard to recruit these guys to the north and no quarterback wants to come play in the cold and all that. I always say, I understand that, but you got to tell me how Ohio State ends up with top 3 recruiting classes and all the wide receivers and quarterbacks you could ever dream of that you would want at a northern, cold, Midwestern city. They don't have problems getting that talent and throwing it around even in the cold.
Oh, no, they don't have problems. And also, you're forgetting the other school, Michigan. Michigan doesn't have any trouble recruiting. I think all those kids get big NIL money when they go to Ohio State or Michigan.
Yeah, I know Ohio State has upped the ante with their NIL offerings and everything. I feel like they were behind in that more than their fans wanted. And then I did hear, like, this recruiting cycle, they're ramping that up. I don't hear too much about Michigan's NIL, but where my mind goes is I wonder if it's tied into the Jordan brand. That's what I would do if I was them and I have that contract with Jordan. So I wonder if they have that going for them too.
Yeah, or they got individual boosters, just random people from Ann Arbor who chip in.
Yeah, I don't know. But if I was them, I've been saying they should be leveraging the Jordan relationship all along. Speaking of that, you have Notre Dame connections. Any inside track on what uniform we're going to be going with here? What company? I know you hear things.
I have heard nothing in terms of that, but I still think we will probably end up with Nike. But I'm not sure what they're going to do. I mean, it's hard to say now because, I mean, we're losing Under Armour. We know that. All the Under Armour schools are losing their contract, but it's hard to predict what they're doing. But probably whoever offers us the most amount of money.
Yeah, and I've heard, I think if it was Nike, generally people would love that and it would be a change and the kids all like Nike. Everything I've heard, it sounds like Under Armour, they may make the biggest offer and Notre Dame might go with them, even though their brand overall nationally is on the decline and they're getting out of the uniform outfitting business overall. And the argument there would be they need Notre Dame more and in a different way than Nike or Jordan does. And therefore, if they're that desperate to have one big, program, they would throw a lot more money at Notre Dame than Nike and Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, if Under Armour put up a lot more money and a better offer, I would definitely sign with them. I mean, look at Michael Jordan. Nike was struggling when Michael Jordan signed that contract, so they could definitely do that for sure.
Yeah, and so I don't know how it's going to go, but it's definitely interesting. And as far as the TV contract goes, it's just going to be NBC. I don't think they would hire Bavacqua if it wasn't going to be NBC. It's such a cozy dynamic there. I think that's how it's going to go.
Oh yeah, they're definitely staying with NBC. Hopefully, he can help improve the Notre Dame programming. Hopefully, he can tell his friends at NBC to help. Hey guys, you got to improve the product that's on the screen. You got to help us get more NBC games instead of games on Peacock. You got to stop with that.
Wait.
Look at
but wait. How do we know he's not a reason all that's happening already? He's been in charge of NBC Sports. He might be the guy telling them, you know what? Push this Peacock thing.
I mean, we don't know. If he's doing that, I hope he's not. But he would be sabotaging his own program if he was doing that.
But he was the head of NBC Sports Productions. I'm imagining he's in all those meetings. So it's like, buddy, I mean, lay off the Peacock. I'm just glad I don't have to worry about Peacock. It's the Central Michigan game, and I'm going to be at it. So I don't have to worry about it that day. So I'm kind of happy with that. Anything else on the way out? Let me ask you this. What would you want to hear early from camp when they let the media in for 15 or 20 minutes and there's reports that come out early? What do you want to hear those writers say that encourages you early on in camp? What would some of those headlines be?
Oh, all the defensive linemen got bigger muscles. Like all of them, they look big. They look strong.
I like
they
that.
Look like they're ready to play football.
I like that because it's one of my biggest concerns of the year. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like they've been lifting well in the weight room. They've been seeing the weight room lifting up 10 pounds heavier. So that's always a good sign.
Yeah, nope, that would be good too. The wide receivers, hearing that they're coming along quickly and look like they're coming together as a unit and have good connections with Hartman. I'm looking for that as well. I want to hear that the guard play is good. I want to hear that the safeties are able to hold up early in camp. Like these are all the things on my radar.
Yeah, I mean, all those things would be big news. I mean, like we just need the players to make overall gains from last season. Like they can't be the same product as last year.
Yep, that's for sure. And the results certainly weren't what we wanted last year. So I need to see some physical changes, and the mentality needs to change as well. Hey, listen, it was really nice catching up with you. I'll be on campus Wednesday. I don't know if you'll be around, but I'll be around. I'll make my way through the bookstore, I'm sure.
Oh, where will you be on Wednesday?
I got a couple meetings, and I'm going to be all around, and then I'm going to go in the stadium and hang out for a little bit. So I'll just be kind of walk around, and I have a couple meetings spread out through the day. So, but I'll hit the bookstore at some point.
Yeah, well, I don't work at the bookstore all day, but that's cool that you're going to be on campus, though.
Yep, I wanted to get back to do a little business, and then also I just need to be in there before there's 100,000 people on campus, and it's not all that big game day anxiety and all that. It's just peaceful and calm this time of year, kind of quiet, and that's good for me. I need that mellow visit to Notre Dame before the season starts.
Oh, for sure. I always like Notre Dame when it's quiet like this.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll be over there. It's going to be a good week. I'm happy to be there. And then I'll be back for Central. Nice catching up with you, my friend. Thanks for the call on a Monday.
Thank you, John, for having me on.
No problem. Take care, my friend, and go Irish. Really nice person. 818. I don't want to make you wait.
Hey, what's up, Johnny boy?
What's going on, brother? We are we're coming up on the season, man. It's getting real. Camp's starting. recruiting's percolating a little bit. Where are you at on all these items?
As I said before, John, the recruit thing, I don't care about him committing to Notre Dame. I mean, it's nice to hear for a moment, but it's just like with all the ones that decommit, it's like signing day is when all this stuff matters. Before that, all it is it's no different than leaning one way or leaning another. In my opinion, a verbal commitment means, now, perceptually to the rest of the nation, it does matter a little bit. I'll give you that. To other recruits, it does matter. To me, it matters not at all. I don't even care.
Hey, what if, but wait. What if I told you God's involved with this recruitment and that changes the discussion? He did. The guy, it cracks me up. The guy said, I couldn't see myself in Notre Dame. I could see myself at Ohio State and USC. And then God told me to have faith to go to Notre Dame and challenge myself. So maybe if God's involved, he won't flip. And if he does, I want a different quote of him saying, God told me he messed up when he guided me to Notre Dame. The guy's boxing him in, but he's boxing himself in here.
Listen to people say if he decommits or whatever on Saturday because of someone else. Like, well, I guess the guy got real Satanist, didn't he?
Yeah, like I know he turned atheist on me. Like, I just wonder if that will help him stick, if it's like a spiritual guiding principle. And I'm not trying to laugh at it. I'll take whatever the hell we could get to get these guys here. But I just think it's funny that if he flips, he's going to have to flip what God told him.
John, I remember that recruit back in 2000. I don't remember. It was during the White era. I think it was the final season. I think it was somewhere between 2008 2009. I can't remember his name. That top defensive end that everybody wanted, and he spread his grandpa's ashes on Notre Dame Stadium's field, and everybody was like, "Well, there ain't a chance in hell we're losing this guy." And literally, we lost.
That's so funny. It's like you go back with a vacuum to try and suck Grandpa back up and bring him to the other field where you ended up going. Like, how do you undo that one? How do you undo that one?
His excuse was, well, that was my grandpa's favorite school, so I wanted to do that for him. That's how he kind of weaseled out of that.
Hey,
one.
You know what, man? Listen, there's a lot of people's ashes in those flower beds on each sideline. I know personally, there's been a lot of ashes snuck and spread down in those little planters. I know there's a lot of spirit in there.
Yeah, a lot. I'm telling you, John, I mean that. And part of it is willing myself to not care. I admit that. I mean, when I hear, look, if I heard Notre Dame got the number one quarterback in the car side, I'm just saying in a random year, if Notre Dame was able to land the number one recruit that was a quarterback early on in the process, I'd be a bit more excited. And the reason for that is it has major national perception. And also, quarterbacks tend not to flip. Once they, you see it happen. It does happen, but quarterbacks seem to stick with their commitments more. I think it has a lot to do with they get the most attention from the school. They also are the lead recruiters often on that, so they have a little bit more responsibility. They build a little more camaraderie within the class as they're going along. So if it was a quarterback, I think I'd feel differently, John. But when it comes to just normal, and there are other exceptions to the rule too. If I've listened to the kid talk and he sounds, very mature for his age, I'll have less anxiety about him decommitting. But in general, John, 95% of these recruits, as far as I'm concerned, they're free game until signing day, which that does kind of lead me to another point. With the NIL stuff, with players being able to transfer on a whim, I'm a little surprised we even have a national signing day anymore. Why can't it just be you can sign your letter of intent whenever you like? But when you do, you're stuck for that for a year, unless you want to transfer. I don't know why we can't do that. Maybe it's because they need too much drama in college football to keep us all on the edge.
Yeah, I think I was going to say at this point, I think that so much is built up into signing day. Although I could argue once they started the early signing day thing in like December, the February one really lost its momentum because most of everybody's classes are filled up by that early signing day now. So the actual one later in the winter did lose a lot of steam, in my opinion. Or maybe I just say that because we never land any hat flippers on the actual day in February. So maybe that's just me being a jaded Notre Dame guy.
The early signing period. Yeah, and what I don't get about that early signing period, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me that we have that second one so close to that first one. It's like, I sort of get it. There's an early signing period and it's several months before. Then it sort of makes sense to me. But having two that are, I think they're within like 6 weeks, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it, John? Isn't that weird?
Yeah. And man, I don't
get it. I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know. All I know, man, is it was nice to win this one, and I hope it sticks. But we needed a win over USC and Ohio State, and it lines up off the field that we're all competing for this talent, and then we're going to line up on the field, see where it lands. KVA is the type of guy Notre Dame needs, and Freeman needs more of to get caught up and close the gap. He could play early, and we need 3 or 4 of them on defense and another 3 or 4 on offense. That's what I need.
Yeah, I think, just to complete this LOI, I'm sorry, and NSD, National Signing Day. Letter of intent was what I was thinking of. I don't know. I really feel like it would make a lot more, it would have a lot bigger impact, in my opinion, if that first signing day took place, like, I don't know, 1 week before the college football season started, or maybe at the exact halfway point, when most teams have their buys or whatever, like in that, very last week of October. I just think that'd make it a lot bigger of a splash. And then you have one more in February. Okay, fine. But the fact that one comes at the end of December or whatever it is, and then one's the very beginning of February, it's like you've taken all the steam out of the February. I don't even people even think of that as National Signing Day anymore.
Yeah, well, wait, we don't. Because the guys that tend to wait till the actual signing day are like the top guys with a bunch of hats on a table. And we're out of that game. We don't get those guys. The only thing that happens to Notre Dame on the actual final national signing day is my misery when we drop down the rankings, when all the teams that do get the hat flippers jump us. That is the only thing that happens to Notre Dame on the final signing day is we drop in the rankings. And it's enough to make the rest of the air fall out of my head. Name one of those actual signing days on the final one in February where Notre Dame goes up the rankings. You can't, because it never freaking happens.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's done to screw Notre Dame, because I'm telling you, that first signing day was, I don't know, like I said, first week of November or like I said, even like 1 week before the college football season starts. That would make a huge difference, I think, for Notre Dame, because we tend to be front-loaded, So then we would have all those guys already basically for 1 year. They can't do anything.
Yeah.
That would really, well, whatever. It's not happening that way, but it's just odd to have the signing date so quick. Yeah. It's so weird. Hey, I don't even know why it's good.
Rodney, let me ask you this. I don't believe I saw you Saturday night. You were probably working. Pat and I did a show, and it devolved into the Ohio State USC debate. And it's just, there are people on both sides of that, which one you need to get and why. But all of the reasons you brought up, other people have brought up, and why you value each of these, USC being on the rise, but Ohio State having the more proven elite recent history. Let's just agree that you should just go win both, and then we don't have to worry about it. How about that?
Well, that's a great point you brought up, John. I was working. I started watching the show later. Got about 30 minutes in, and I got distracted, so I just didn't finish watching it. But, let me talk about those two, because I was thinking about this today again and really trying to rack my brain with some of the more nuanced reasons why I still pick Ohio State. However, the Caleb Williams thing is very true. I get that one. I totally disagree with Pat that a 2 or 3 loss USC team any day of the week twice on. I just can't go along with that. I think that's idiotic. I'm sorry. Love Pat, great guy.
Yeah,
but it's not the same every year. Let me make another analogy. And I think we talked about this once, but this is another reason why this year. I agree. Overall, 2005, 2006, even with Ohio State being good we got beaten that Fiesta Bowl game at the end of the year. I mean, that 2005, 2006 USC game, I wanted more than anything. And of course, because they're our rival. But remember back in 2012 when we lost to Michigan on that stupid, where, I don't know, Zeke Mata and whoever else it was, jumped for the ball into each other and somehow still couldn't knock down the pass. And then Michigan ends up winning that game because of that helmet or that long bomb play. And then we were 0-2 to start the year. And was that 2000? Yeah, that was 2012. But then we
wait, it couldn't have been 20. It couldn't have been 2012 because we were 12-0 in 2012. Is it 11?
2011.
Yeah, it was 11.
I meant 2011. I'm sorry. Brian Kelly's second year. Yeah, 2012 was the year we went undefeated.
Yeah. Yep.
2011. Well, Brian Kelly's second year, he started 0-2 because they had that South Carolina loss, and then we lose to Michigan in a stupid way. We shouldn't have lost either one of those games. And we actually dominated Michigan State. I wanted the Michigan State more that year than the Michigan one anyway. Now, because of the way the Michigan game turned out, I might have changed my mind. But I was so sick and tired of losing to Michigan State. So tired of that for that 1 year, I actually wanted the Michigan State game more than Michigan. I remember before the Michigan game that year, I remember talking to my best friend saying, which game would you take? Would you take Michigan or Michigan State? And he said, I think I'd take Michigan State this year. And I agreed with him. But that was a very, very rare case.
Yeah,
okay?
and so are you allowed, then that brings up the Notre Dame fan question of, are you allowed to start this discussion by admitting USC is our natural rival year in, year out, all the history, Newt Rockne, the whole thing, different lifestyles, different value systems, all that, starting out the discussion saying, I admit all of that's true, and they're always going to be that team to us and Notre Dame people. However, for this 1 year, I'm going to make an exception because of very, very specific and unique dynamics that we need the Ohio State one more. If a Notre Dame fan wanted to make that argument, I mean, I would listen to it, but Pat keeps coming back to the idea that you can lose to Ohio State and still make the playoff. You cannot lose to USC and Clemson and make the playoff because you're getting too late in the season. That's a big argument Pat uses.
Wait a second, but Pat's counting 2 losses against 1. What if, again, we could lose? What if we lost to Ohio State, beat USC, beat Clemson, beat the rest of our games, we get into the playoffs? Or we beat Ohio State, we beat Clemson, usually lose USC, we're probably still in the playoffs.
See,
you know what I'm saying? So that argument I don't necessarily agree with, okay? I even think we could beat Ohio State and beat USC and lose a close one to Clemson and still get in the playoffs based on what we're probably number 1 in the country if we beat Ohio State and USC and the rest of our games at that point. Wouldn't you agree? Probably, maybe number 2.
Man, that's
unless those 2 teams are not playing well.
Okay,
unless they're not playing.
But how do you? Let's say that happened. I beg to have this problem. Okay, I beg to have this problem. However,
right.
I do not think so. I do not think so. And the reason I don't think so is, like, who's beating Georgia? They're going to start ranked ahead of us, and I don't see them losing because they have a weak schedule. Michigan's going to be ranked ahead of us, and they don't play a real game till Penn State in the second week of November. Like, these are teams that are going to be ranked above us, and they're not going to be tested, so they're probably going to look pretty good. I don't know how Notre Dame jumps them, and I'm yet to see this committee really value who teams are playing and beating to the extent I want them to. And to say, yeah, Georgia has more talent than Notre Dame. They won the championship last year, but they're beating bad teams. Notre Dame's beating good teams, and we're going to reward them and bump them. I don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right with Georgia. I think if Michigan's ranked ahead, they are obviously ranked ahead of us right now, but I think if we beat Ohio State and USC, we jump Michigan because their schedule has 2 cream puffs. By the way, I think this is the year Michigan loses a couple games. I just don't see them having the luck they've had the last couple of years.
Yeah, maybe they have a Marshall or a Stanford where they sleepwalk at the big house and something happens. Yeah, and you know what?
I think Georgia's just too loaded to lose a game. I think there's going to be games where it's going to be close because they're going to be disinterested.
Yeah,
but they'll just put in their second team guys that are almost as talented as their first team guys. And they want to play because their second team and want to prove it, and they'll just end up winning the game because of that. Because the first string guys are just bored. You know what I mean? So you're right. I don't think Georgia loses, so they're probably still number 1. Okay, but that's all. That's a bunch of hypotheticals. I will say this. The Caleb Williams thing is starting to change my mind on that a little bit, because I think that Pat is right that there's a good chance USC could actually outrank Ohio State this year if, all things being equal and they both are undefeated. Okay. So because of them having the Heisman winner and all that stuff, and yes, going 0-2 to Lincoln Riley does matter. I go back again. For me, it's a lot of it has to do with with all time. The fact that we haven't won since 1936. The fact that they've been 5 double-digit losses in a row against Ohio State. The fact that all my Ohio State friends feel sorry for me, and they're always very nice to me, and I appreciate that. Obviously, if they were mean and hated me and called me names, I'd really want the game.
Yeah.
But the fact that, I'm tired of that disrespect of almost like, feeling bad for me that we haven't beat them in all this time. So
yeah.
For me, I admit it's a little bit more personal. And understand this too, John. When I was coming up as a Notre Dame fan, my introduction to being a Notre Dame fan really was Tim Brown in 1986, returning that punt down to the 17-yard line. And then we get that field goal to beat USC. Lou Holtz finished 5-6 that year. That was the game that got me really interested in Notre Dame football. I was watching it kind of casually before that, more or less a fan by extension from my dad. But that was the game where I became a Notre Dame fan, and we beat USC and went on to beat them 10 years in a row. So I didn't really, even though I knew USC was an all-time threat, it didn't matter to me as much because I had never seen that. I had never seen that rivalry.
Yep, and wait now. Now you're bringing up another point Pat and I debated Saturday night. We both believe there is a segment of Notre Dame fans that are in their 20s that have never seen USC be good, and they don't know how bad it is for Notre Dame people when USC is truly elite. If you were in your 20s now, in 05, what were you, 0 years old or whatever? And then USC's been down. All of these people, college-age kids, people in their mid-20s, they have never lived in a world where USC is good and know what that misery is like for Notre Dame every day. They've never seen it. They didn't live through Bush push. They didn't live through Matt Leinart, Bush push, Pete Carroll, all that stuff, Lendell White. They didn't live through any of that. And I'm just saying, it's pretty bad when USC's at the top and Notre Dame isn't. You're chasing them. None of those people in that age group know what it's like.
I'll go a step further. Besides Miami Hurricanes in the mid '80s and early '90s, there has never been a team I've hated more than. And again, not necessarily because they were, they didn't have the same attitude as Miami. I won't say that. I don't kind of like Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush these days. I don't have anything against them. But at the time, they just knew they were the top dogs. And trust me, there was that period where, 2002 through 2010, a 9-year period where USC beat us every year. So they went on, they had their streak of that, of beating us 9 years.
You know what's funny
so
that you said?
Everything flipped.
You know what's funny about that is I hated Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush so much back in that era when they were beating us and all the flash and everything. Like, they rubbed me the wrong way. Reggie Bush was so good. I was jealous of it. I was mad about it. All of that. But the irony is, when those guys got older, they're about my age. I thought they were really good on that Fox pregame show. I thought Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush were good on that show. And I thought they had good points. And I actually gave up some of my resentment. And it actually was cool to see Brady Quinn sitting in between those guys after they all had those epic battles together. And now they were older and in the media. And I thought they were all well-spoken. And it was weird to me to see that come full circle. And it also made me go, holy crap, 05 was a long time ago, that Bush push.
John, I could not agree with you more. I've said the same thing myself. I loved it when I saw it. And I'll throw one more in there, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was really good on that show with those other 3 guys. I can't remember the fifth guy that was on there who did a good job as well. But I was starting to really enjoy what was that called? Noon kick.
The noon kickoff or whatever.
That was sad though. That was kind of a short window because I don't believe Is it true that is Leonard and Bush still on that show?
I don't think they are.
Show?
I don't think they are. I think they're changing their lineup there. I don't think they are, but that was it's just
Brady Quinn moves around all the time. I mean, that's not a diss on him. I mean, he's just constantly finding new opportunities, and now he's. But yeah, those three, I agree with you, man. Those three, along with Urban Meyer, it was kind of really cool. I enjoyed that show a lot.
Can I change gears on you and bring up one thing that you've probably thought about, and because I know the way you think, and then 618, you're going to come up next. Let me bring this up to you. When I think back to last year, and even this show and the radio show and all that I was doing, I noticed a lull. Though somebody's saying Bush is out of Fox, so I don't know what they're doing, but he's out. And what I realized was the weeks of Cal, Marshall, and Stanford on this show were lame weeks last year. The energy wasn't there. We didn't have as many callers. We didn't have as many people in the chat. We definitely didn't have 133 viewers I'm looking at in the corner. We did not have any of that for those weeks. All the numbers went down. I feel like Notre Dame people overlooked those teams. Oh, it's just Cal. It's just Marshall. It's just Stanford. And I felt like the fans sleptwalked through the week. And sure enough, the damn team sleptwalked through those games. We all need to take every game way more damn seriously this year. The fans, the players, everybody.
Well, and that is also a point to the Ohio State USC. That's another point I want to decimal point I want to add on to why I think it's Ohio State this year. Let me give you this. You know, there ain't no damn way in hell that in any year, I don't care if USC is undefeated, there ain't no way they're going to out-popularize the fan base at Notre Dame Stadium because they don't care as much. Oh, yeah, they'll go to their own stadium and watch it, but they're never going to out-travel us when it comes, even if they're on top and we're at the bottom. But you do know that there's a good chance that Ohio State fans could outnumber Notre Dame fans. And I'm telling you, for all those people who are saying, oh, it's USC every day of the week, when we see a sea of red at Notre Dame Stadium and we lose that game, and it's probably because there was more energy in the Notre Dame Stadium towards Ohio State, I guarantee every Notre Dame fan is going to hate Ohio State after this year and want that game so bad. It's going to take this one, because if it happens this year and we lose that game and we see a sea of red, I guarantee that's going to flip everything over to the other side. And next time we play Ohio State, you're going to see always ready to I want that team so bad after what happened in 2023 at Notre Dame Stadium when it was a sea of red. I'm telling you, man, that is what I'm saying. There's no chance that's going to happen with USC. They're not going to outnumber us in the stadium.
Well, that's for sure. Because for one thing is, they're too cold, man. It always cracks me up because it just cracks me up on this rotation. Yeah. It's usually around the second week of October. Bush was October 15th. I'll never forget that day as long as I live. It was October 15th. And half the time the weather's a little chilly, but a lot of times I'm in jeans and a t-shirt in the parking lot drinking my beer, and they're in their winter coats. They got scarves. They got the full face mask. They're lighting barrels of garbage on fire for warmth. Stay the hell in California.
Hey, listen, man,
stay in California. If it's too cold for you, don't even bother to come here. Stay out by the ocean. Don't even bother.
Listen, John, I lived there from 1999 to 2011. So
yeah, look at you, fancy Hollywood boy. Fancy Hollywood boy. Look at you, Rodney.
Yeah. Well, and so I got to see it all, man. I got to see USC's ascension during that time, living in it, and the Lakers too, which, by the way, I gained, massive respect for Kobe Bryant over the years. But at the beginning, I couldn't stand him because the same reason against Leonard and Bush, because he was so damn good, and I didn't want to see him touch Michael Jordan's record. And the fact that Phil Jackson went and coached for the Lakers. I mean, so as I'm living in Los Angeles, I'm seeing the ascension of Lakers. I'm seeing the ascension of USC football. And oh my God, man! So trust me, I lived there through it, and even my blood got a little thinner. And when I would come back home, not to the same degree, of course. Yeah, but I would get a little colder Easter. I admit.
Yeah, I never have that worry about USC taking over our place. And the other reason I don't worry about that, man, is all the USC fans, if they were ever interested in making a pilgrimage to South Bend, they know that every other year that's going to be available to them. That's different than like Ohio State or Georgia coming here, where it's not on the schedule. And so you better see it when you can see it, because you don't know when you're going to get it again. The scarcity of that event matters too. These guys know every other year you could hit Notre Dame. Rodney, it's good talking to you, brother.
This year, man, if Notre Dame beats Ohio State this year, that's going to satisfy what I need for me of knowing there's been 5 times in a row that we've played them since I've been alive, and they've all been double-digit losses. It's just this year, John. But I will admit, because USC is kind of in that same realm of where they're going to be ranked. I haven't looked at the latest preach. I know we were number 9 last I looked or something, which is fine. That's a perfect place to be in terms of being slightly underrated or, slightly off the radar, but close enough to where you can make that ascension as long as you beat the right teams.
Yeah.
But certainly Ohio State and USC are pretty even in that regard. I don't know exactly where they're ranked right now. Do you? What is the ranking? Have you checked?
For recruiting or like preseason?
Like the preseason national ranking, where are they at right now?
I don't even know, because I don't think those have even come. The ones that matter have not come out yet. Like the AP and the coaches poll have not come out. Right. So all you're getting is on 3 writers saying, here's my top teams, ESPN giving theirs. But I don't even really look at that much till it's the coaches poll, which is half BS anyways. And then the AP poll, and then we go from there. Anything else, my friend? Good catching up with you today.
No, that's it, man. That's it. We're getting close, man. We're close. Very close.
Yep. And we will. I'm excited to break down the early reports from camp. Once that gets going later in the week, we'll hear what starts leaking out and who looks good, who looks bad, and where we're at, man. I'm excited for it. Have a good week, man. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Take care, John.
Take care, brother. Sorry. Take care, and he's gone. 386, you're in the mix. 618 after. What's going on? Take care, and he's gone. 386, you're in the mix. 618 after. I think this guy put his phone down, and I hear myself on delay. Hello?
John?
Yeah.
John, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
What's up, man? Yes, I can.
How are you? What's going on, brother? I'm excited, man. We got a good recruiting win over a couple teams nobody likes. Okay, we're trending up there going into camp. We have reasonable health into camp. There's a lot of reasons to be positive. Where are you at?
A lot of reasons to be positive. Getting that commit this week, I was pretty fired up about that. As soon as he started talking about, his retreat, God, things like that, it's like, we got this in the bag. Yeah. And not only did we have it in the bag, we beat USC and we beat Ohio State. That's huge. Like the perception of that. Yeah. We need more and more of that. What are your thoughts there?
That's literally why I put the Kevin line from The Office. It's just nice to win one. This summer, with all that anxiety we've had and frustrations with the elite recruiting, it was really, really great to get one of these wins. And I also maybe this doesn't matter at all. Maybe it's just the way I process Notre Dame, but I like the idea that you're taking that recruiting momentum and everybody, that little uptick in Irish emotion we feel, and then you run right into the beginning of camp. I like that. It may not be connected at all for the actual guys on the team, but emotionally, mentally, I like it. I like riding that win, go into camp with everybody guns blazing and off to the races.
I agree. And it's one of those things, right? Any type of win that we can get like that, let's keep stacking those, right? Let's get into camp. The boys are obviously going to be flying around, fired up. I like the fact that we've got a couple games this year, not Ohio State right out the get-go. Yeah. So let's see what Hartman can get going, right? Let's catch a little rhythm. Dude, I'm telling you, if we can get those first 4, right? NC State's going to be the kicker there. If we can get those first 4 and get Ohio State coming into our house at night, have that place rocking, if we can get that, my whole season and this whole buildup is based on those first 4 games. Let's get there undefeated. You've said it multiple times on the shows recently. Let's get there. if we can get that Ohio State win, the season, the limits are endless. Like, we have no limit at that point. Let's go out and do it. And, you know, one of the things you've been talking about recently too, Hartman can be that differentiator to where he can pick up this team. If we can have that type of elite quarterback play, you see what other elite quarterbacks do around the country.
Yeah.
They elevate the entire.
Yeah, but see,
team.
but
He's
see,
gonna bring
that's
that moxie.
listen.
Yeah.
That's where I've been stuck all summer. I've been thinking about this dynamic. Is I know how important a borderline elite or elite quarterback play is and what it could do. It's just, how do you measure that? Like, sitting here, I don't know what it's going to look like yet to measure just how big of a bump that could provide in a way of, like, it even should help the defense because it's less pressure on them. If we're scoring more points and holding onto the ball longer each game, it helps the defense. Like, and how much could Hartman's presence help the wide receiver group, which has a lot of potential, but is largely unproven, and I can't rely on at this moment? How quick can he bring those guys along? How much can they gel in the first few weeks so that they're ready to rock against Ohio State? Like, I just don't know what the level is of how high Hartman can bring the bar here. I don't know that. Did I lose you? Did you fall into the ocean there in Daytona Beach, Florida, where you're calling from? Or did he hang up on me? He hated my idea that much, he hung up on me. Screw you, John. Hello? All right, I got to drop you, man. Try again tomorrow if I go live. It sounded like you were underwater in the ocean. We were having a good conversation. That's like when you think it's going fine with the girl and then you never hear from her again. Like, I thought it was going fine, and then she never called me back. 618. I know you're happy about that KVA. Doing, oh, baby, I know. I want to talk to you because I know you're thrilled about that KVA.
Yes, I am, man. I'm like, man, how I was scared, man, for a couple of weeks of like the Justin Scott thing. And Justin Scott was saying the same thing. That, oh, I don't want to leave my mother. Oh, my mother is everything. And then boom, he commits to Ohio State. And then I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen to us again. And then with KVA, like, hey man, I'm committing to when I heard Saturday, like, that he called Ohio State and USC, I was like, oh, man, if he called them both, man, we got him in the bag. And man, it actually happened, man. And I'm happy, but we need more elite recruiting like that, man.
Yep. You need more of those guys that could disrupt the depth chart early, either year one or year two, and they're out there. And like, we need more of those guys. I need 2, 3, 4 of them on each side of the ball. So if you want to give me Williams and Carr, at that level, fine. But like, you need 2, 3, 4 of those guys in each of these recruiting classes on each side, in my opinion, to quickly be able to close the gap. The only way to do that is to bring in competition of young guys that, 1, push the older guys for snaps, and 2, provide depth. That's what I need more of. And this guy's cut out of that mold, and it's a good get. And we trend right into camp on the upswing. Love it.
And now we got to get Lambert, man. Once we get Lambert, we can shut it down, man. You know, unless you want to keep recruiting, unless you want to, keep. I'm not even going to say keep recruiting. Unless you want to keep begging Scott, man. We can shut the recruiting down and start for 2025 because I'm hearing that 2025 class is a whole lot better than what the 2024 class is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's good to win one. And it matters to me who it's over to, okay? Ohio State, USC, both on the rise. It's just nice to be like, hey, we're Notre Dame and we're still here. You know what I mean? And we're going to have our chance to prove that we're still here in the season. But I mean, in this recruiting cycle, it's very nice to get this win. Let's transition a little bit. Let me ask you about camp. I believe it starts Wednesday. The media doesn't get a big window to look at what's going on, but when they do and we start getting reports that leak out of camp early, what are some things you want to hear that would make you encouraged? Like, we're on the right track, we're ahead of schedule. Like, what are a couple of these footnotes you would want to hear the reporters talking about?
I want to hear about these receivers, man. I really want to hear about these receivers. Like, are they really truly better than what last year's receiving core was? Even though some of them are still the same. I want to hear about the freshmen, man. I want to hear about, man, the offense overall, man, because Notre Dame has never had it's been a long time since we had an elite offense, man. I'm thinking maybe the early 90s, late 80s was the last time I seen a Notre Dame elite offense, man. We want an elite offense. Even with Brady Quinn, Brady Quinn was a great quarterback, but that offense wasn't elite. We want a top 10 offense, man. I want to see a top 10 offense on the field this year.
Yeah, and I just think we're not used to it as Notre Dame fans. You do not bring Sam Hartman in here to hand the ball off and not push it down the field and take some chances and try and throw guys open. I just think it could change everything about Notre Dame practically and perceptually if they are able to literally be able to run and pass the ball. We're not used to that. All the good things Kelly did accomplish and how far we did make it, it was with severely limited handicapped offenses. I couldn't imagine what Notre Dame could accomplish with a solid defense and the ability to run it and pass it. We're just not used to it, and I hope we see it.
And man, I'm hoping that we get to see it with Sam Hartman and the crew of running back. Man, I just feel like, man, this is going to be a special year. But I just want to hear, see these receivers, man. I'm sorry, man, if you older guys is not getting it done, man, them younger guys is hungry and they want to play.
Yeah, that's going to be it. They're young and they're athletic, and I agree with you. If you've been around here a while and we're not getting production, they need to maybe go another route. And the pressure's on guys like Colsey and Merriweather to really crank it up this year. I understand the quarterback situation did not help those guys develop last year. Neither did the lack of depth in the wide receiver room overall. Not a great dynamic. Well, now that should be over. Those guys got to take a big step. I want Greathouse to be a surprise freshman right off that blue and gold performance. And I keep saying this every time, man. Chris Tyree, if used right, could be a deadly weapon for Notre Dame this year. If they figure out how to use him right, in between that deep pass game and a power run game, he could be devastating for defenses. I'm excited.
Yeah, and man, thank you, Greathouse, because he ran Styles up out of town. So, and I think that was the reason why Styles left, man. It wasn't because he wanted to play no defense. It was nothing. It was because the Greathouse was emerging as one of them dudes, man. And he ran him up out of town. And I'm happy he ran him up out of town, man.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. We talked about offense, coming into camp and what we want to hear reported. What about defense? What would make you feel good hearing something about the defense? I would like to hear, this defensive line's really getting after the number one offensive line, and they look like they're ready to go, and I'm a little bit impressed. Like, I would like to hear that. I want to hear about some surprises at safety that we look good back there. Like, what do you want to hear on the defensive end to make you feel good early in camp?
Yeah, man. I really want to admit defense never really been Notre Dame's problem, but I do want to see this defensive line emerge as like our top 10 defensive line, man, that really gets after the quarterback and shuts down the run, man. And I think, man, if I was the defensive coordinator, I'd probably go with the younger linebackers because they fast, they furious, man, and
it's not going to happen.
Them linebackers.
It's not going to happen. I mean, we've been talking about it all year. It ain't going to happen. You're going to have those same upperclassmen starters, and then it just makes me wonder: what are the rotations like? Like, what are the sub packages? What are the rotations? Where do we put what guys? You're not going to get those younger guys starting. You're just not.
I mean, at least giving them a lot of playing time, man. If the older guys is not getting it done, go with the younger guys to get the plan, to get the job done, man. you have to go with the younger guys because a lot of kids that you recruit, they want to know, like, you recruiting me, but you're not playing your younger guys. Why should I come to Notre Dame if you're not going to play me?
Yeah,
right away?
And listen,
if I'm the better guy,
listen. If the older guys are making plays and they're where they need to be and their blitzes are getting home and they're in their gap and they're shedding blocks and they're not getting burned, then I have no problem playing the older guys. But if I'm not going to,
I have no
right?
issue with that.
But like if I'm not going to get good enough play, then I'm not open to just hearing, oh, they're more experienced. But more experience doesn't mean you're a better player. Just means you've been around here long. Those are not the same thing. It bothers me when people go, well, we're just going to go with the guy with more experience. Fine, but if he isn't great, why do I care? He's been here that long.
Yeah, and I just don't. I mean, if you got to understand how recruits look at it too, man. I mean, it's not just that Notre Dame is not winning. It's that the younger guys, like, they see the younger guys go to SEC schools like Bama and all that, and Saban plays the best players.
Yeah.
He do not care if you're upperclassman, you're a freshman, sophomore, junior,
it's
senior.
all compete.
If you're the better player, you're getting on the field.
Yeah, it's all high-level competition, cutthroat, like you got to make your plays. Like, I get it, man. I get it. And so I don't know, brother. I'm going to be over in South Bend in a couple days. I'll try and sneak in and see what I can report for practice for you.
But I really think that, man, this is going to be a special year. 10-2 is about the least. 11-1 is what I've been saying since January. Since I've been calling it January.
Hey, you had I still got the clip of you saying you're predicting Notre Dame makes the playoff. Don't think I forgot about that. I know it was you, and I got that clip saved because you put yourself out there, man. You went there and you put yourself out there. I got that damn clip. Don't believe me, I got it.
They're going to make the playoff. Don't worry, John. They're going to make the playoff. But
man, you're gonna if it happens, your new nickname is Notre Damus. It's Notre Damus, not Notre Damus. Notre Damus. If you predict that and you nail it, you're gonna be the hero.
They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to beat Ohio State. They're going to beat Clemson. The one game I say that, I mean, I don't go by what you did in the past. I mean, I understand that Ohio State had better play in the past, better than SC. But as of right now, SC has an established quarterback.
Yeah.
SC has an established offense. Your quarterback make your receivers better. It's very rare that receivers make quarterbacks better. Your quarterback makes, unless your name is Jerry Rice, you ain't making a quarterback that much better.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect
than what
sense.
He really is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And SC has an established. Not only do they have an established quarterback, they got their reigning Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep. Nope. Hey, man, you're right. And I just understand we need to both acknowledge what these mean to Notre Dame, both practically and perceptually, but for different reasons. And there's a different subset of reasons that the Ohio State game is a big deal to people. And there's an equally important different set of reasons USC is, and it's fine to acknowledge both. Anything else, my friend? It was good touching base with you on a Monday.
I wanted to say one more thing, John, man. It was kind of crazy because they came out right before he committed with this video of Manti Te'o talking about when he committed to Notre Dame and he never wanted to go to Notre Dame. He wanted to go to SC, and then he went and prayed about it, and then he committed to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
After telling all his family and friends that he was going to commit to SC.
Yeah, and you know what else, too? You got to credit Weiss for that. Like, he has a lot of downfalls. You got to credit him for pulling that one off. He was a big part of that.
Yeah. But, man, like I say, 11-1, we're going to make the playoffs. I think the SC loss is going to be huge, but I don't think it'd be that huge to knock them out.
Man, that would be.
Four. I think they'd be a top 4.
11-1 in year 2 of Marcus with this schedule would be fantastic. It'd be the arrow pointing straight up. Hey, I want you to have a good start to the week, man. Thanks for giving me a call on a Monday.
All right, man.
I'll probably be back tomorrow since I'm not going to be live Wednesday. Give me a call again if you want, whatever.
All right, I will, man.
Beautiful. Have a good one, my friend. I appreciate you. He calls every week, and he's always all worked up. All right, let's go back to 386. Finish this call. What's going on? We're on the lag delay. I could hear myself. Man, that's brutal listening to yourself. You ever notice that? All right. I can't do that anymore. I have things I have to do. I'm sorry, but that phone call's messed up. All I could hear is myself in a vacuum in the future. Hit me up tomorrow with that call from Florida at Daytona Beach, I believe. Yeah, John on a Tuesday is just too much. Well, you're not going to get me on a Wednesday. And when I'm not with you, people, it causes me anxiety. I'm sorry. Like, I'm getting comfortable with this community being like a part of our lives, especially the people that are here all the time on those mornings. Like, I like taking your temperature, being with you guys. And when I'm on vacation or I can't do it, I feel like I'm letting you down and not doing my damn job. So we will probably go live again tomorrow. And I'm going to be honest with you. The numbers are going back up. And I'm not saying, oh, John, your show's amazing. Let's give you an Oscar or something. It isn't that. It's that people are coming out of football hibernation. That's what it is. It isn't like, oh, John, your show just got significantly more awesome from the end of May into now, right before camp start. It isn't about that. People are coming out of football hibernation. Some people need a break from this, you guys. They don't want to do this every day, even through the off season. I know a lot of people here on YouTube and on Twitter that say after the Notre Dame's bowl game, they'll message me and go, John, it was awesome. I'll see you the week of the first game next year or when camp opens. Like, there are people that are able to compartmentalize Notre Dame like that and just be like, oh, I'll be back when the game starts. Bring them all back. Let's come, baby. Let's come, baby. And I also, somebody put fans of other teams. I love that. That tells me we got something going on when Ohio State people want to be here just for entertainment value. There's a couple really nice Clemson guys that come in here. Probably know me from Pigskin Pete over on his channel. A couple of Alabama guys that are like, I don't like Notre Dame, but you make me laugh. Whatever it is, I like you seeing you yell. Whatever it is, let's grow it. Let's do it. But I want these numbers to trend up, baby. And then we get into the post-game, pre-game shows. Woo! I'm going to tell you one thing I think I'm going to do the first week of the year. Florida State, LSU. We might do a live watch for that. It's that Sunday of Labor Day weekend. Nobody else has anything going on. There's no other games. It's going to be prime time. Brian Kelly, LSU against. I might do that live and do like a game watch where I'm reacting and we're all reacting and ripping on Kelly, hopefully, and chatting about it. Let me know if you guys would like to do that because I think that'd be fun. All right. That's going to be it. We'll probably go live tomorrow. I'll put out a notice later tonight. John's the Northern Paul Feinbaum. Well, even I have more hair than him, so at least I have more hair than somebody. Oh, man. All right, you guys. I'll see you in the morning. I'll drop something else tomorrow, tonight, a short, and then we'll go live tomorrow. And then I'll have a camp confidential camp opening episode I will release live Wednesday while I'm at Notre Dame, so you still get your information. Angela Rudiger, good to see you here. Coach is listening with me. He says, hi. Good to see you, Rudy. Hope you're doing well. All right, you guys. Take care, everybody. Have a good day. Happy Monday in Notre Dame land. Where's my button? There we go. We're out of here. See ya.